Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers, and a lot to go over as we look at NFL and college football for the upcoming weekend. We'll be joined by Kyle Hunter coming up in just a moment to talk college football with him. He's a totals expert, and I got a lot of thoughts on the big games from him coming up. And also Stephen Nover will join us in about 15 minutes or so to talk NFL for Week 8. But before we do all of that, want to tell you all about BetMGM. And they are the king of sports books. And at BetMGM, there's a great promo going on right now. And if you're a new player only, you get this promo. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line. And if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Again, for new players only, must be 21 years or older. And it is legal in the following states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM, and they are the king of sports books. Let's bring in Kyle Hunter, who has had a fantastic year in college football, which we'll get to in just a second. But before we do, I have to rant with Kyle about what happened last night. And the Packers end up holding off the Cardinals in Arizona 24-21. That game stayed under the total, 50.5. Kyle's the totals expert. And just your thoughts, Kyle, on how things kind of unraveled there. I know it was a slow first half for the total, then it picked up in the second half. But you had about 6-7 minutes left. Green Bay's drive down the field. They can't score. Arizona goes from their own one all the way down inside the red zone. They can't score. What did you think about how that whole thing turned out and how nobody could get any points?
Yeah, it's just hard to believe. How could it turn out that nobody scored? We had that reversal on the touchdown, which I think was surprising that there was a reversal on that touchdown, and then the delay of game for Green Bay. Then Arizona goes all the way down the field. They have a field goal at least, and then AJ Green, who knows? I mean, it looks like he was blocking for a run. Just a wild way to lose that. And I have to say that's one of the worst bad beats for an over I've seen in the NFL ever.
Because when you look, Kyle, at that Green Bay drive, Aaron Rodgers was just walking them down the field, and you figured, okay, they're going to get a touchdown here. I forgot who the receiver was, but the catch on the sidelines, he was gone if he doesn't get stripped there and the ball went out of bounds. He was gone if he doesn't have that fumble. And Aaron had the one receiver open when he threw in the end zone for the pass interference. He had one guy open there, would have been a touchdown. And like you talked about, the play where Aaron Jones went in, I don't know if he was in, but I don't know how you had enough evidence to reverse it. That was kind of my issue with it.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Is it's hard to say if he was in or not, but they say it has to be indisputable, and apparently to them it was. The Packers are fortunate to have won that game after it turned out the way it did, obviously, and the under cashing. I mean, people who cash the under there, I know some people like to do their victory laps and stuff, but if you cash the under on that one, you ought to just be counting your luck. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Kyler Murray with that interception in the end zone could have had a field goal going to overtime, but obviously didn't happen. All right, Kyle, I want to move on to college football with you, and you are number one in college at Vegas Insider, plus 1980 on the season, 28-9 the last 7 Saturdays. I know you keep saying when we've had you on, it could end, but it's not ending. You're doing very well. So let's try to continue that train. Big Ten battle, Michigan State. I know you're an Ohio State guy, so you're going to keep an eye on this game. But Wolverines and the Spartans, revenge game for Harbaugh and Michigan after they lost at home to Michigan State, but now the Wolverines favored here in East Lansing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the spread here is tricky because Michigan's been very good this year, but I'm surprised they're laying this many points on the road. Michigan State is 6th in the nation in yards per play margin at plus 2.10 yards per play. We have similar teams in a game like this, aggressive defenses. Michigan State, 26 sacks so far this year. Aiden Hutchinson, a star from Michigan, actually ranks number 1 in overall defensive grade at PFF. Michigan's fumbled 7 times this year, only lost 2 of them. Their defense has only allowed 6 touchdowns and 13 trips into the red zone. I kind of think Michigan's due for some regression. I think they're a very good team, but laying 4 points on the road, Michigan State surprised me a lot this year. I like Michigan State plus the 4 here if I'm betting a side. And, I also think the under could be a good look in this game. A bit of wind and maybe even a little bit of rain in this game. I think this is more of a Big Ten grinder. So I lean toward Michigan State plus the points and the under in this one.
All right, let's take a look at another Big Ten matchup and Ohio State and Penn State. And Penn State, Kyle, obviously last week, totally stubbing their toe against Illinois. They had a 9 overtime game. They had chances to win in overtime. They lose. Now they head to Columbus, heavy dogs here. And Penn State has not had a lot of luck with Ohio State over the years. But do you think this number is too big for the Buckeyes? Because it feels like since that Oregon game, that offense has totally exploded and no one can stop them.
Yeah, this is such a high price to pay on Ohio State here. And we're getting that high price because of how well Ohio State has played lately and Penn State with that bad performance last week. We don't know if Sean Clifford's totally healthy. They're trying to say he's totally healthy, but he hasn't looked like he is. Both teams play at a fairly fast tempo. I would say, as far as totals the rest of the year, I'd be looking toward Ohio State overs. Having said this, it looks like this one could be some rain. I'm probably not going to bet this game. I think that Ohio State would have been a good play at less than 2 touchdowns. And I think the look-ahead line was less than 2 touchdowns. 18.5 is a lot to be laying. I do think Ohio State will win this game. Ohio State, the best offense in the country at this point, as per my ratings. I think that Stroud has been really, really good. Henderson's a stud at running back. Wide receivers are certainly the best in the country. I still don't trust the Buckeyes defense totally. So if Dotson could have a big game and Clifford could throw it around a little bit, maybe Penn State can score some here and stay in this one. 18.5 is just too many points for me to lay.
Now let's take a look at another night game, Kyle. The last year was an ACC matchup. Now it's not. But Notre Dame hosts North Carolina, and the Fighting Irish won in Chapel Hill last year, and Carolina's had their struggles at times this year. Notre Dame off the big win over USC last week. I feel like this line's a little short for the Fighting Irish. What do you think about this game coming up in South Bend?
I think this game has a lot of variance. I think I could see a lot of different things happening in this game, and it wouldn't surprise me very much. Notre Dame's actually negative 0.07 yards per play as far as a margin so far this year. They have played a tough schedule, a much tougher schedule than has North Carolina. Kyle Hamilton out is a really big hit for Notre Dame. Star safety, does that make them more susceptible to those big plays from Sam Howell and his talented wide receivers? I think probably so. I wouldn't be surprised to see North Carolina lose by a lot here. I also wouldn't be surprised at all to see them win this game. I think North Carolina really appeared to be on an upward trajectory under Mac Brown last year. And this year's team has been a disappointment. I thought they would be better than this. 27 sacks allowed so far this year for North Carolina. I know some scouts have been saying, while Howell looks tremendous, he does hold the football a little bit too long, and their offensive line is mediocre at best. Same could be said about Notre Dame, 25 sacks allowed. They haven't been able to run against anybody. Notre Dame is 32nd in defensive success rate and 22nd in defensive explosiveness, so they're good at avoiding giving up the big play. But I wonder if that will be hampered a bit by Kyle Hamilton being out in this game. So I'm tentative about betting this game in general. I do think North Carolina has a shot to win this one outright. Like I said, with the high variance that this game has, if I took North Carolina, I might just take them as a small play on the money line in this game.
Now let's take a look at another night game, the American, Houston and SMU. Really solid matchup between two teams that can put up points. And right now the Cougars are a short favorite against the Mustangs.
Yeah, Houston quietly the number 12 team in the nation in yards per play allowed. Their defense has been so good. 5th in success rate on defense. Tanner Mordecai and SMU offense has been very good, and I think they'll test that Houston defense a lot. If you kind of look down through Houston's schedule, they really haven't played anybody that's that good offensively. They are going to play a good offense this week. The other thing about Houston that stands out to me, they +6 turnover margin, 5 fumbles on the year, but only have lost 1 of them. And somehow they forced 16 fumbles so far this year. Certainly you could say that's good defense and aggressive defense, but it's hard to force that many fumbles constantly. Their defense is allowing just 23.4% on third down, and they've allowed only 7 touchdowns and 15 trips into the red zone for opponents. I give the coaching advantage in a game like this to Sonny Dykes over Holgorsen. SMU the much better defense or offense, and Houston the much better defense. And this one should go right down to the wire. I expect this to be a really good game, and I'm looking forward to watching this one. The total, it all comes down. Do you think Houston's defense is as good as their stats indicate? I think I would bet the over if I had to bet a total here, and I kind of like SMU.
All right, and the final game we'll look at today, Kyle, in the Mountain West, late night, Fresno State and San Diego State. And the Aztecs come in here a short favorite over the Bulldogs.
Yeah, this is a game that I'm really intrigued by, and this is a late night game. I'm looking forward to watching this one. I have to say, Saturday night is trick or treat night here, and I'm hoping to go to trick or treat with the kids and then hustle back home to watch these games, because this is a tremendous weekend of college football. And I'm a huge fan of college football, so I want to see as many of these games as I can. Fortunately, this is a late night game, so I should be able to see this one just fine. Fresno State, to me, really good offensive team. Jake Haener, I really like Haener and Jalen Cropper. And San Diego State, Lucas Johnson has kind of stepped in, and some people think maybe he's the answer. His average depth of target, 6.8. So he's not throwing the ball downfield at all. I'm not convinced he's a fix to San Diego State's offensive issues. Having said that, I think San Diego State can probably run the ball some here on Fresno State. And the big question for me here in this game, can San Diego State stop the pass? If you look at all their metrics, San Diego State is excellent defensively. Their secondary looks tremendous, but you go down their entire schedule and they have really not played a good passing offense all year. Well, that stops here because Fresno State's very good offensively through the air. I think that as we break this game down, Fresno is 18th in yards per play margin. San Diego State is 38th, and Fresno's played the tougher schedule. So this line sitting where it is, San Diego State's getting a lot of credit. I kind of think Fresno State's going to win this game. I would take Fresno here. The other lean I have in this game is the over, thinking that Fresno's games, it's hard to have a total this low in a Fresno State game. We know that San Diego State plays a lot of really low-scoring games, but I think Fresno can score here with throwing the ball around. And with that being the case, San Diego State's not going to be able to do their consistent running the ball and using up the clock when they have these big leads. So to me in this one, this game probably looks a little bit different than most San Diego State games. San Diego State is used to having the big lead, running the clock, using their defense. Fresno State's just much better offense than what they've been playing so far this year. State, and I like the over here.
All right, so Kyle Hunter, he so far this year in college football, 32-11-1 on Vegas Insider, nearly 75% plus 1980 units. So he's continued to picking well, or he's continued to pick well, and basically on the totals. That's what you're gonna get from Kyle Hunter. A couple sides here and there, but he's the totals master, and we'll see if he keeps it up. How many plays do you think you're gonna have this week, Kyle?
I have 3 plays up so far. I think maybe 1 or 2 more plays for me here for this weekend. So probably my guess is about 5 plays this weekend. So definitely check that out over there at Vegas Insider, and we'll try to keep this hot streak going.
All right, Kyle Hunter. You can find him also on Twitter at Kyle Hunter Picks. Kyle, thanks so much. Best of luck. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right, there is Kyle Hunter. And coming up, Stephen Nover will join us in just a moment to talk NFL. But before we get to Stephen, I want to tell you about WynnBET and the $1,000 risk-free first sports bet when you download the WynnBET mobile sportsbook app. Now, when you download the app and you're a new patron, you can get a $1,000 risk-free first bet with a $20 minimum first deposit and eligible sports bet when you use the promo code VI bonus. That means if you lose your first wager, you get it back up to $1,000 as a free bet credit that you can use for another bet. And also the WynnBET promo code will expire soon, so make sure to grab it while you can. You can download the app on iOS or Android devices, and that is WynnBET. All right, it is time now to talk NFL, and we bring on Stephen Nover, who is our guy in the NFL. And Stephen, I'm going to get your opinion. You're a Wisconsin guy. I talked about this with Kyle Hunter a few moments ago. I had the under in last night's game. And I mean, I don't even know where to begin with it because I was so stunned when Kyler Murray threw that interception at the end. They're trying to get one more play off, and then A.J. Green doesn't turn around, and there's the interception. But how Aaron Rodgers how he could not get the Packers in the end zone all those times was baffling to me.
Kevin, congratulations, sneaking your underplay. I had the over, and I haven't had a bad beat like that in a long time, and I've had a lot of bad beats, and I didn't know if I could come on the show after that game, having the total there. I could see the horror unfolding when Aaron Jones, legitimate touchdown, all of a sudden it's taken back. I don't know what the refs saw to overturn that touchdown, but once they put it back on the inch-yard line or wherever they put it, and Green Bay had to start all over again to get that touchdown to cover the over, I knew it was going to be a lot of problems. And not just that at the end, Kevin, I don't know why Green Bay had to take a 5-yard penalty to put it back on the 6, and they could have just ran Jones again. And as far as what you're referring to with Kyler Murray at the end, there's no excuse for that. I understand it's the heat of the action, but this is on the Cardinals. Why, Kevin, are they screwing around with A.J. Green? The guy is washed up. They have 3 better wide receivers than that guy. Don't go to him anymore. This isn't A.J. Green of 5-6 years ago with the Bengals. And that never should have happened. And again, congratulations to you and all the underbettors. I'm just sick about it.
No, I'm with you. I had the over.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you had the under.
If I said that was a mistake. No, I had the over. Yeah. No, I was watching that, and I'm like,
yeah.
What it was too? It was the one catch down the sidelines that would have been a touchdown if it wasn't a fumble. Remember the one on that drive when he got stripped of the ball and went out of bounds on the Packers drive?
Yeah. Are you talking about Winfrey?
Yeah.
The Winfrey, just a brutal player. I understand he's their 7th best wide receiver or something, but that's really where they not only missed Adams, but Lazard. Winfrey wouldn't block. There were so many times, Kevin, you saw the game. They'd hit Jones on these kind of elongated screen plays, and the guy wouldn't block. The guy would not throw a downfield block. He couldn't catch. He couldn't block. And that all hurt the over, too. And it's just frustrating. Please change the subject. it's just.
And you know what?
It's just.
Let's go to Sunday, Stephen. Let's do it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Let's do Titans Colts. Let's go to that one. And This is so intriguing because Tennessee is off these very good victories at home, Stephen, beating Buffalo, beating Kansas City.
Very impressive.
Now you're facing the Colts, second time this year. The Colts hung in that first game with Tennessee, but I feel like Carson Wentz couldn't hit these passes in the end zone. But that was another Colts team because they were 0-3, and since then they've won 3 of 4. You can argue they should have been 4-0 with that Ravens loss on the Monday night. But now, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Tennessee flipped to a dog, and the Colts now playing a little bit better after a slow start.
I'm looking for a strong performance from the Colts. It's awfully hard in the NFL to play great 3 weeks in a row, which the Titans would have to do to beat the Colts because the Colts are coming on. Their offensive line is healthy now. Wentz is healthier, and he's having quietly a pretty good year. I think he has the fewest interceptions of any starting quarterback. And Derrick Henry obviously is in a league of his own, but Jonathan Taylor now is really stepped up the last few weeks, and he's shown the talent to be a top 5 running back. I hate to bring up another over, but this could be a real shootout here because Tennessee is very much more dangerous on offense when they have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones both healthy.
Now, I want to look at another AFC matchup with you, Stephen, and you don't see this that often. The Cincinnati Bengals laying double digits, much less on the road, and they're playing the Jets this week. Zach Wilson's out for New York, and the Jets were just obliterated by the Patriots last week. But Cincinnati, really good win at Baltimore. They've won at Pittsburgh. Do you think this is a little rich here, even though the Jets, we know their offense isn't good and they're down to their second-string quarterback? Do you think it's a little too much here, love for the Bengals?
I don't think it's too rich. Kevin, I think it's a fair number. The Jets are terrible, and now it looks like they're not going to have Corey Davis. And I have no idea why they picked up Joe Flacco. Where are they going to go with that? But having said that, I doubt I can get involved with the Bengals just because of the division sandwich. They're coming off the huge monster win against the Ravens. They got to travel out east, and then I think the following week they have the Browns. So not a good spot at all for the Bengals. So on the other hand, I want no part of the Jets. Their defense now it's been holding up their offense, but it's not. They really lack talent on the defense. They've been playing over their heads, and that's starting to catch up to them. So just a tough spot for the Bengals to get involved, laying those kind of road points.
Now let's go to another another two AFC North teams: Steelers, Browns, and Pittsburgh. Stephen, a lot to play for here. Revenge against Cleveland from the wild card loss, and the Browns, Baker Mayfield's status still up in the air. Browns off a good win considering they had a lot of pieces out last week against Denver, but now we'll see what Cleveland can do against this Pittsburgh team that, again, just trying to find some consistency.
Yeah, I don't think much of Pittsburgh, mainly because of their offensive line. I have them playing bad games in 5 of their 6 games, the Pittsburgh offensive line, and the timing is really bad because Ben has no mobility. Ben is way over the hill, and so I really don't have a high opinion of Pittsburgh. It just seems every time I kind of dip my toe in the water with Cleveland, though, they don't come through. I don't have a major problem if Case Keenum is going to start again for Baker. I think Baker is very overrated, but I really love Cleveland's running attack. This third string guy, Johnson or whoever he is, comes in there and rushes for close to 150 yards. Just very impressive ground attack.
Now let's look at in the NFC now, Stephen, the Sunday afternoon showdown at the Superdome, the Buccaneers and the Saints. And New Orleans handled Tampa Bay twice last year. And in the opener and Brady's debut with the Buccaneers, and that Sunday night game in Tampa, which was all New Orleans. But again, Drew Brees was the quarterback then. Jameis Winston now facing his former team against the guy that replaced him and won the Super Bowl. So the Buccaneers favored. Saints playing only their second home game, which is kind of interesting, and they haven't won a home game yet this season. But what do you think about this, New Orleans in the short week after the win at Seattle?
Well, it's time for Jameis Winston to show something. Technically, they've had 2 home games. The first one, of course, though, wasn't at the Superdome, but just going by his non-road numbers, they've been pretty good, Winston. But here's where he's got to prove himself. It's against his ex-team. He has all the motivation in the world. He really needs to step up here and show something. I think getting Ingram was a good move for the Saints. That's going to help the ground attack. That takes a little of the ground pressure off Kamara. He can do his danger as he does as a receiving out of the backfield. But there's some defensive injuries that are coming back. Levani David may be able to play here. Tampa Bay is getting a little healthier in the secondary. The Saints have got a couple defensive linemen coming back that are very good, kind of underrated players. Davenport, another guy. So it could be a kind of a sneaky underplay here. Everybody kind of looks at the offenses of these 2 teams, but this is where Winston really needs to prove himself if the Saints are going to show anything this year.
Now, the final game we'll look at with you, Stephen, the Sunday nighter, and this number flipped. The Vikings were a short dog yesterday, and all of a sudden now Minnesota's a 2.5-point favorite against Dallas. And the Cowboys, the last team in the league that is undefeated against the spread, 6-0 ATS. Both teams off the bye. Both teams won in overtime on the road before the bye. But I guess your thoughts on this line moving and now Dallas an underdog.
Yeah, it's the quarterback move, as you know, Kevin. Cooper Rush probably is going to be the quarterback. They're going to hold out Dak Prescott in this game, I believe. No need to really, if he's not 100%, risk him, which makes Dallas probably a run-heavy in this matchup. They've got the 2 really good running backs, and the Vikings have been weak all year on the run defense. And this is Minnesota's chance to show themselves. I thought they had a shot at winning the division. They've had a lot of close games. They still have some serious flaws, but this is really setting up well for Minnesota, catching Dallas likely without Prescott, being at home. They should have no excuses here. This would be, if Dallas can pull this one off, Minnesota's a tough place to play, and if Dallas can pull this off with their backup quarterback, very highly impressive.
Steven Nover, who is at nearly 56% in the NFL so far this season, 39, 31, and 1 on Vegas Insider. You can check out his NFL selections for this weekend. Steven, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, sounds good. I always enjoy talking football with you. I'm going to try to get over this over loss with the Thursday game. I'm not over it, but I'll work on it.
I completely understand. Get some winners this weekend, and it'll be in the rearview mirror.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
there is
take care,
Steven
buddy.
Nover joining us, and yeah, look, it was a tough one, and I can't really argue with anybody that's upset about that. That the over in the Green Bay, Arizona game, with all of the opportunities that the Packers had last night, if you watch the game, that on that final drive, Aaron Rodgers did a great job of walking Green Bay down the field after Arizona scored. And it looked like you were going to get to 31-21. And you had that feeling inside when the Aaron Jones touchdown was taken off the board, which was it a touchdown the first time? It was extremely hard to see. You had about 5 or 6 different camera angles on Fox, and no one got a good enough angle to see if it was a touchdown. But also, you didn't have a good enough angle to see if it wasn't a touchdown because there were 3 Cardinals around Aaron Jones. So you had nowhere. The only way you could have done it maybe if you had an overhead shot, which you didn't have, but everything else on the side, you didn't see it. So when Aaron Jones didn't get in, you kind of knew that this was going to be a disaster if you had the over, that they were not going to score. In spite of all of that, and the only good news is that they went for it on 4th down, because if Green Bay would have kicked a field goal, you go up to 27-21, you need Arizona to score a touchdown to get over because they're not going to kick a field goal down 27-21. So I've been asking too much. So the best thing that could have happened, honestly, was Green Bay just not kicking a field goal. They went for the touchdown. Rodgers had the pass batted down. And for Arizona to start at the 1, you're like, oh, great. But if Arizona got a field goal, then at least you got the shot at overtime, 24-24. Someone kicks a field goal. You hit the over unless you finish in a tie. Obviously, if no one scored in 10 minutes, then so be it. But Arizona went right down the field. And just to play with A.J. Green was a complete disaster. And I don't want to blame Arizona for going for a touchdown there. You had 14 seconds. You still had a shot to win it there. So instead of risking overtime, you might as well try to get in the end zone. I don't know what Kyler Murray's health was because it looked like he was limping a little bit. Why you didn't even try for Kyler Murray to run up the middle or create something, but I guess they didn't want him to run because the clock would have run out. But it just was very unfortunate that how many chances each team had and they just couldn't get it. It was almost like Penn State, Illinois all over again in the 2-point conversions and in the overtimes. That's how bad it was. So let's look now at my best bets for the week. So last week we went 2-0. We had the Raiders and the Lions, and those two came through. We went 2-0 the week before. Let's see if we can go 2-0 again this weekend. Here we go. All right. Carolina getting 3 at Atlanta. And the Panthers, they were bad last week against the Giants. They are on a losing streak. Atlanta's won a few in a row. But I think now Carolina, you're getting them as a road dog. We haven't seen them as a road dog, I mean, since the Dallas game. But, they lose at home to Dallas. They lose to Minnesota. Last week's a bad loss to the Giants. I think now going on the road, the short trip to Atlanta, catching the Falcons off a last-second win. And these teams have played, pretty competitive games over the years. I'm going to take the points with Carolina here. Even though Christian McCaffrey's out, I still think Sam Darnold got a wake-up call after he didn't play too well against the Giants, got pulled last week. So I'm going to take Carolina. I'm going to take the points with the Saints against the Bucs. New Orleans has proven that they can beat Tampa Bay. Now, again, you got to trust Jameis Winston here. But the Saints, home dog, the Superdome, it'll be loud. And, yes, New Orleans has one home win against Green Bay. That wasn't at home, but they're looking for their first win in the Superdome this year. They lost to the Giants when they played there a few weeks ago in overtime. But I think that the Panthers get this one, or the Saints, rather, get this one, and they cover against the Buccaneers. So 2 NFC South games. Going to go with the Panthers and the Saints, 2 dogs in those 2 matchups. We have Major League Baseball tonight, Braves and Astros, World Series Game 3. Atlanta slight favorite over Houston. That series tied at 1 game apiece. College football, Navy and Tulsa. Tulsa's an 11-point favorite. And in that American, after last night, East Carolina beat USF. And then you have Nevada and UNLV in the late game tonight in college football. Nevada laying nearly 3 touchdowns at home, 5-2 record for Nevada, and UNLV is at 0-7. I feel like UNLV has not won a football game in a very long time. NBA tonight, only 7 games on the Friday card. But the key games, Heat hosting the Hornets. Saw Bam Adebayo from the Heat. He is questionable tonight. Pacers and the Nets. Brooklyn's at 2-3. Brooklyn laying 8.5. The Kings and the Pelicans in New Orleans. There's been some line movement there. Sacramento opened up as a 2-point favorite, now down to 1.5. But the Kings 2-0 on the road. Interestingly enough, Pelicans at 1-4 in the season. The Clippers and the Blazers in Portland. These teams met earlier this week at Staples Center, and LA blew out Portland. So we'll see if the Blazers can get some revenge. And also the Clippers were pretty bad against the Cavaliers a few nights ago. So both teams should be motivated there. Mavs and Nuggets from Denver. And the Nuggets a 1.5-point favorite. Nikola Jokic, he's questionable, knee injury. And Cavs-Lakers, LeBron Bowl coming up tonight from Staples Center. So the Cavs remain in LA after they just beat the Clippers. Now they got the Lakers. LeBron questionable, Lakers an 8-point favorite over Cleveland. And then NHL tonight, Panthers their first game after Joe Quenneville resigned yesterday. They're in Detroit against the Red Wings. Panthers looking for an 8-0 start. Panthers laying 180 there. Hurricanes looking for a 7-0 start. They're laying 190 against winless Chicago. And Anaheim's at Vegas. Golden Knights laying 240. And Vegas, interesting spot for them, off back-to-back wins at Colorado and Dallas. They come home for Anaheim, and they go back on the road again. So we'll see if Vegas wins there. They're 3-4-0. Anaheim 2-4-2 so far on the season. Got 2 winless teams going tonight, Arizona and Chicago. We'll see when one of them will win. Arizona's at Washington. The Capitals laying $3 against Arizona. All right, before we escape here today for the weekend, BetMGM. They're the king of sports books, and they have a great deal now for new players only. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Again, new players only, must be 21 years or older in these legal betting states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. They are the king of sports books. So we'll be back with you coming up on Monday. Dave Sherapan will join us, as he does every Monday, and we'll review the weekend. And Monday will be November 1st. So get through Halloween weekend. Have a safe Halloween if you're going out, or if you're going out with your kids. Please be safe. And our thanks to Kyle Hunter and Stephen Nover for joining us today, and check out their picks in college football and the NFL. So that's it for the week. Thank you so much for watching. And if you missed any of today's conversation, you can find it on our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider. Also, you could find it on our homepage at Vegas Insider. Just look for the Daily Insider, and you'll see my face. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of the Daily Insider. And as always, best of luck with your bets.